Welcome to Getting Out of Graduate School Intact. My name is Maiken, and I am your friendly graduate school tour guide. In this episode, we discuss things to consider when you're looking for a program and or looking for a school. I'm afraid that this is going so you might want to grab some coffee. In the current landscape, it is becoming more and more common for potential graduate students to be unsure how to take the next step or even know what that next step is. Students know that they need to get an advanced degree, but little more than that. I often recommend you find someone whose job you would like to have. How did they get there? What majors lead to that path? Another way to figure out how to get to where you want to go is take a week places like LinkedIn or Indeed. What grabs your attention? How do you get there? What degrees or majors are they looking for? Now that you've narrowed everything down to a handful of possibilities, which of those majors appeal to you? Now what? Now what? Look at course catalogs. What classes do you need to take to earn that degree? How long will it take for you to earn that degree? We all have had to take a class or two that steals a small amount of our life force. But if you're a degree plan and you hate or dread more than 2 courses, it might not be the right major for you. Eliminate them from your list and move on to the next one. Keep doing that until you've narrowed down your field to 1 or 2 majors. If you fall into the group saying, I've done that and I'm still not quite sure or know how to articulate what I want to do, my advice to you is meet with the admissions counselor, the recruiter, or graduate student services person at the school you think you want to attend or at your local university. Have a frank and open conversation about where you are, where you come from. For example, what undergraduate program you're in, what type of student you were, your work history. Tell them where you think you would like to go and what aspects of that place that you like. I like working with people. I hate working with people. I'm extremely introverted, or I'm an extreme extrovert. This information will help them narrow down options for you and may help them point you in a direction you had not considered. Several times this semester, I have people who are next step or took the step they thought they wanted or needed to take, but it doesn't feel right. They reach out to meet with me. These meetings typically start with my asking the following questions. What are you wanting to do? What is it about that job or career that is pulling you towards that path? What degree are you looking into earning? Where are you now? What is your undergraduate major? And sometimes even what is your current graduate major? And based on the information, I try to help them find a path that feels right and fits, even if that path is not a degree offered where I work. I have had students come in thinking they wanted to major in X, and after reviewing the curriculum and learning the career outcomes, leave my office looking to a different major entirely. Now, I do want to add a disclaimer here. Not everyone does this. Do not be surprised if their answer is, we don't have a program for you, and walk you to the door. A good admissions counselor, recruiter, or graduate student services person will walk you all the way through the process and help you find what you need to get you up, even if it's at a different school. Also, verify what you're told. Do your due diligence. Make sure that what you're advised gets you on the journey to your next chapter. When you have reached the stage, I think I know what I want to do, but in the decision-making process, and you think you have narrowed it down to 1 or 2 majors, but you need just a little bit more information to decide which one you want, reach out to the program director. The program director for that degree is the source of all knowledge for that major at that university. If they are not, then you may want to pause and reevaluate. Create a list of questions that you would like answered, and then schedule an in-person, virtual, or phone meeting with them. In that meeting, tell them what you would like to do, where you would like your journey to lead you, and ask if that degree can help you get there. Follow up with the questions you have written down. Do not attempt to have this conversation via email. This needs to be organic and a free conversation, one that allows that develop from the conversation. Often students forget to ask if a degree can be applied to another area in case you change your mind. They forget to ask about professional applications like internships and practicums, where you can get a little taste of the degree in real life. And they forget to ask about how the program aligns with the accreditation required for that field and degree. Finding your school. By this point, you have done your due diligence and decided on a major. And now you're ready to find where you want to invest your two most precious commodities, time and money. When you were in high school looking for college, your criteria was different. As a potential graduate student, you are no longer looking for a top 100 school far enough away from home that the rents don't drop in for a surprise visit, but close enough that you can do laundry. So let's discuss things that you should know and take into consideration when looking for a school and about what you want from that experience, starting with decoding a few terms you will hear or read when looking at graduate programs. We're going to call this the 2 R's, the 3 DPU walk into a bar. Sorting through the 2 R's and the 3 M's and the DPU, and what the heck is a teaching university? And what does all of that mean? Good question. At the graduate level universities, because of a lot of nuances, don't tend to follow the same top 100 school format that undergraduate programs do. Graduate programs and universities follow guidelines set up by the Carnegie Foundations and or other regional governing bodies like the Southern Regional Education Board, also known as SREB, and the Northern Region Educational Services Commission, also known as NRESC. And I will pause here to let you know another unique thing about graduate. Okay, getting back on track. Using different matrices such as the number of graduate students graduating in a year by zip code, research produced, grants earned, tenured faculty, etc. At the graduate level, there currently are 3 main categories: doctoral universities, master's universities, and special focus universities. Let's define a few of these terms so that we can understand the role they play in our selection process. In other words, why you should care. Starting with the term I just randomly tossed out, like you should already know what it is: CIP. CIP. It stands for Classification of Instructional Programs. Every college program in the U.S. is given a CIP code to help identify and rank different fields of study. CIP codes are developed and managed by the U.S. Department of Education. If you'd like to know more about CIP codes, and I personally don't blame you because they are sexy little things, you can check out the National Center of Educational Statistics. The 2 R's and the DPU. There are 3 Carnegie classifications for doctoral universities. R1, very high research producing university. Think MIT, Johns Hopkins, Rice, UNC Chapel Hill, and Yale. R2, high research producing university. Think East Carolina University, San Diego State, Wake Forest University, and William & Mary. And finally, you have the D/PU, DPU. Doctorate or professional university. These universities are not high, tend to have doctorates that are more professional in nature, like an EDD, an educational doctorate, or a DBA, Doctorate of Business Administration. Think Gonzaga, Radford University, and Texas Women's University. This is also where some people would start the category referred to as teaching college. Now, I do want to add a disclaimer here. Carnegie ratings change frequently, so some of the schools may have changed classification. TWU, for example, at the time I recorded this, is in the process of becoming reclassified from a D/PU to an R2. Now, this is actually important, and we're going to break this down a little bit further. R1 schools are insanely competitive and are extremely research intensive. When you get to the graduate level, it is still all those things, but on steroids. It is intense. In addition to being insanely difficult to get into, the focus, and I am speaking in generalities here, of those schools are more on the research and education and less on a rounded student model. When I refer to a rounded student experience, students to have social and extracurricular activities and experiences. This is something to consider when researching schools. If you want a well-rounded student experience and a personal one-on-one feeling, the R1s may not be a good fit for you. R2s. R2 schools are very competitive and are very research intensive, but not as intense as the R1. Again, speaking in generalities. While they are still intense and difficult to get into, the focus of these schools is slightly more balanced and leans more towards the rounded student model. One. This is something to consider when researching schools. If you want a combination of heavy research but still be able to have a student experience, all while having a more personal one-on-one approach, these schools may be a better option for you than an R1. DPUs. DPU schools are not research intensive and tend to offer degrees that are more professional focused than research focused. These schools are not as competitive as an R1 or an R2 and tend to provide a more rounded student experience. These schools appeal to students who want balance to their education, students who are working professionals, and older students with families. They tend to be more student-centric in nature, and of the three, the DPU arguably provides the most rounded student experience. Classification is that of the 3 M's. In this grouping, the colleges primarily offer master's degrees with a few doctoral programs. The ranking here is based upon how many graduate degrees are awarded in an academic year. This group is what we refer to as the teaching college. Here primarily on teaching and not research. That is not to say they are not doing research, as they often are, but these universities is done at a smaller scale. This classification consists of an M1, which is a large serving master's institution, at least 200 or more master's graduates, but less than 20 doctoral graduates. Think Eastern New Mexico, Embry-Riddle, and Troy University. The M2 is a medium serving master's institution with fewer master's and doctoral graduates than the M1. Typically around 100 to 150 master's graduate students. Think Christian Brothers University and Delaware State. The last category is the M3. They graduate less than 100 students an academic year in this group, and they tend to be small private schools, Oklahoma Baptist. The last category is the special focus schools. In this group, the schools tend to have a handful of special focus masters, such as a law school, maybe an MBA, or a medical program. Okay, I know that was a lot of information.